The captain's orders, Lieutenant Dax, stood still on the metal platform as the cold wind from the hangar fans brushed against his skin. The docking bay of Earth Command was busy, but his mind wasn't on the noise or the engines. He held a sealed envelope in his gloved hands, marked with a red triangle, the symbol for top secret orders. He hadn't even opened it yet. Moments ago, an officer gave it to him with a straight face and said, "You're being reassigned. Immediate. Departure, no questions." Then walked away. Dax opened the envelope slowly. "LT, Dax Riker, Human Special Class. You are hereby assigned to vessel NXS-17, Norexa, 1 crew. 1 mission, orders classified. You are the only human authorized. Do not refuse. Do not disobey. Fleet Command." His eyebrows raised. "Only human? 1 crew? What kind of mission was this?" Before he could think further, a new voice called out. "Behind him, Lieutenant Dax." The voice was soft but firm. He turned. A tall alien woman stood at the ramp of the sleek dark ship parked nearby. Her skin was pale violet, eyes like green fire, and silver markings danced on her temples like tattoos. She wore a form-fitting pilot suit, and her long black hair was tied neatly behind her. "I'm Kilari, Navigator of the Norexa," she said, her lips curling into a curious smirk. "Come aboard. We don't have time to waste." He hesitated. "Where's the rest of the crew?" Her smirk grew. "It's just the 2 of us." The words echoed in his head. Dax felt uneasy, but orders were orders. He walked up the ramp, each step heavier than the last. The moment he entered the ship, the door sealed behind him with a hiss. He turned, startled. Kilari stood close, her hand still on the panel. "Standard lockdown. Safety protocol." Her tone said otherwise. The ship was quiet. Too quiet. No sign of other crew. No chatter, no voices. Just soft lights glowing down the hallway. "Where's the captain?" Dax asked. Kilari smiled. I'm the captain." His eyes narrowed. "This was supposed to be a joint mission." "It is," she said, brushing past him and heading toward the bridge. "You and me." Dax followed. The ship's interior looked advanced alien tech mixed with human interfaces, but clearly designed for long-range missions. The hallway lights pulsed like veins, organic and alive. As they reached the bridge, he noticed the navigation system was already active, coordinates locked in. Time to jump, 0 hours 2 minutes and 41 seconds. He stepped forward. "Where are we going?" Kilari didn't answer right away. She sat down, calmly adjusting controls. Her long fingers danced across the glowing interface like she'd done it 1,000 times. Dax raised his voice. "I asked you a question." Kilari turned her head slowly, eyes calm but sharp. "You'll find out when we arrive. You're not here to question me, Lieutenant. You're here to fulfill your part." "My part?" he repeated. She stood up. Again, facing him fully now. "This ship requires 2 minds to reach its destination, yours and mine. It was built for a bond between our kinds. Your presence isn't optional, it's necessary." Dax frowned. "And what exactly is the mission?" Kilari tilted her head, then smiled again, this time with something darker behind her eyes. "Something only you can unlock." The timer on the screen hit 0. The ship shook slightly as it jumped into warp space. Dax felt his stomach lurch, but not just from the jump. Something about this mission felt wrong. It wasn't just the secrecy, or the isolation, or her strange smile, it was all of it. Like he had walked into a trap, but didn't know what kind yet. He looked around the bridge again. No weapons lockers. No emergency escape pods nearby. 1 pilot chair. 1 navigator station, and no communication access to Earth Command. He turned to Kilari. "Are we prisoners here?" Kilari leaned back against the wall, crossing her arms. "Not prisoners, just selected." "Selected for what?" She walked toward him slowly, her voice now softer, more personal. to see what lies ahead, and maybe to decide what happens next. He didn't move as she came closer, standing just inches from him. Then with another faint smirk, she whispered, "It's just the two of us here, Lieutenant. Better get used to that." The ship glided through the strange blue glow of hyperspace. Outside the windows, stars stretched like lines across the black sky. But inside the bridge of the Nerexa, there was only silence and tension. Lieutenant Dax sat alone in the pilot's chair. He kept glancing at the main control screen, trying to make sense of the locked system. Everything was sealed navigation input, communication lines, emergency signals. Even the manual override codes didn't respond. He pressed another key. Access denied, security level, Kailari only, he sighed. Again, Kailari stood nearby with her back turned, silently observing the jump path through the window. Her long arms were crossed. She didn't look worried. In fact, she looked like she was enjoying his frustration. "This ship doesn't trust me," Dax muttered. Kailari finally turned around, her voice smooth. "The ship was made to follow. Only bonded orders. I have command. You have access, but only to certain levels. Bonded?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "What kind of ship needs a bond between two people just to fly?" Kailari stepped closer. "Not to fly, to arrive." Her words confused him even more. He stood up and pointed at the locked controls. "Where are we going? Don't give me riddles." Kailari smiled slightly, then moved her fingers across a small pad on the wall. The screen behind her blinked. A map appeared, one that Dax didn't recognize. It wasn't from the Earth database. There was only one red line. A fixed path going toward a dead zone in space. At the end, a blinking marker labeled System 0, Threnos. He had never heard of it. Dax squinted. "What's Threnos?" Kailari looked at him quietly for a moment, then she spoke carefully. "A place that no one has returned from. A system removed from all charts. A weapon sleeps there, or something worse." Dax folded his arms. "And we're going there?" "You are," she said softly. "I was only sent to guide you." Dax took a step back. "Guide me? I thought we were in this together." Kailari's green eyes seemed to dim. "Yes, but guiding doesn't always mean surviving." The words struck him cold. He looked again at the screen. The coordinates couldn't be changed. No matter what key he pressed, the path stayed locked. "This was all a setup," he said slowly. "Earth Command didn't send me here to pilot anything. They sent me because I'm human." Kailari nodded. "Explain," he demanded. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked past him and sat at her navigation chair. With a quiet motion, she opened a hidden panel beside her seat and pulled out a silver cube. She placed it on the console. "Play memory file, Origin," she said. The cube lit up, and a hologram appeared. A tall human general stood in the image, speaking directly into the recorder. "To the chosen human, if you're hearing this, then the mission has begun. You are the only compatible mind for what's buried in the Threnos system. No AI can reach it. No alien can touch it. It will only answer to a human. This weapon, or key, was hidden long ago. The aliens call it a god machine. We believe it can destroy or heal entire planets. The truth, we don't know, but we need to get to it before our enemies do." Kailari volunteered to help. "Do not try to change the course. Do not try to escape. You are our last chance. Good luck." The hologram faded. Dax stood frozen, lips tight. His eyes slowly turned toward Kailari, who stared down at the cube with unreadable emotion. "So that's it," he said bitterly. "They used me like a tool." She looked up. "You are more than a tool. You are the only one who can enter the vault. I chose to be here. I wasn't forced." "And what happens to you?" Her voice dropped. "I wasn't promised survival." A silence passed between them. Dax looked at her, really looked. She wasn't smiling now. The teasing was gone. She looked tired. He walked slowly to the control console, his fingers hovering over the locked interface. Still doesn't change the fact I don't want to be part of this. Kalari stood up and walked to him gently. Her voice softened. You think I do? I had a life before this too. I gave it up to sit on this ship with someone I never met, hoping that you wouldn't hate me. He turned his head but said nothing. Then, her hand reached forward and touched a panel. A small drawer opened, revealing 2 glowing discs. These are neural sync tokens, she explained. When activated, the ship will recognize you and me as bonded minds. It will open the path. Dax stared at the tokens. Bonded minds? He said, unsure. Kalari met his eyes again. We don't have to like each other, she whispered. But if we don't connect this ship, this mission, and everyone we left behind, it all ends in failure. Dax looked down at the glowing token in her hand. The path was locked. The time was running, and he realized there really was no turning back. Dax sat alone in the quiet mess hall, staring at the glowing neural sync token on the table. The ship made a faint hum around him, like a sleeping beast waiting to wake. He hadn't touched the token yet. It pulsed slowly with light alive. Somehow, waiting. He had been trained for battle, for survival, for zero-gravity combat. But this was something else. He didn't like the feeling that his mind had become the key to something powerful, something hidden, something dangerous. Kalari entered quietly, holding 2 metal cups. She set one in front of him without a word and sat across from him. It's tea, she said. From my world. Calms the nerves. Dax didn't drink it. What exactly do you need from me, Kalari? Don't say trust. I need real answers. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. Long ago, before your kind even reached the stars, there were machines buried deep in forgotten systems. Some were weapons. Others were worse. One of those machines sleeps in Threnos. He leaned forward. And you want to wake it? No, she said firmly. We want to stop others from waking it. Dax narrowed his eyes. Then destroy it, she shook her head. We can't, not directly. The machine listens to one kind of mind, a human one. That's why we needed someone like you. Like me? He echoed. I'm not special. You are, she replied. You passed the tests Earth Command gave you. They never told you, but every choice you made, every mission you completed, it was all leading to this. Dax leaned back, his expression hard. So, I'm just a lab rat in a long experiment. Kalari looked down at her cup. You're the only one who made it this far. Dax picked up the token and rolled it in his fingers. What happens when I link with the ship? Her eyes lifted. You'll see the path. The real path. It's hidden now, scrambled to protect the machine. But once you bond, you'll unlock the vault coordinates. And the ship will guide us. He stared at the token again. And what happens when I reach the machine? Kalari's voice dropped. That depends on you. Her answer chilled him. So much weight. So little information. He looked back at her. What happens to you, Kalari? She didn't answer. That silence told him more than words. They finished the tea in silence. Dax stood up, gripping the token tightly. Fine, show me how to bond. In the command chamber, Kalari activated the bond protocol. The lights dimmed. 2 metal chairs rose from the floor, facing each other. Strange symbols glowed around the room. The air felt heavy, charged with energy. Sit down, she said. Dax did. Kalari sat across from him and placed the second token on her temple. He hesitated, then did the same. The metal disc stuck to his skin, warm and vibrating slightly. A flash of light filled the room. Dax gasped. He wasn't on the ship anymore. He stood in an empty white space, weightless. Across from him stood Kalari, but she wasn't solid, more like light and memory mixed together. She smiled gently. This is the bridge between our minds, her voice echoed. We must both agree. Only then will the path open. How do? I agree. Think of your name, your real self, then let it go. He closed his eyes, his name, his past, his anger, his fear. And then, light. Dax awoke with a sharp breath. The lights returned. He looked at Kalari. She looked pale but steady. The tokens fell from their heads and dissolved into the air. It's done, she said softly. On the main screen, the ship's map shifted. A new star system appeared hidden before. Red rings circled a dark planet in the center, Threnos Prime. Suddenly, a warning siren blared. Incoming signal. Unknown source vessel detected. Class assassin drone. Kalari's eyes widened. They found us. Dax stood. Who? The ones who want the machine for war, she said quickly. They must have tracked the bond pulse. We're exposed now. Dax clenched his fists. Then let's not waste time. Kalari jumped to her station, setting full power to engines. We have one chance. As the ship roared forward, Dax finally understood. This wasn't just about unlocking a weapon. It was about who reached it first. And the galaxy was watching. Asterisk, the Nerexa shook hard as it tore through the edge of a radiation belt. Lights flickered inside the ship. Sparks jumped from one of the panels on the bridge. Dax grabbed a handrail to keep from falling. Stabilizers offline. Kalari shouted over the rising hum of energy. Are we being hit? Dax asked, scanning the console. No, it's the radiation. It's bending the shielding. I need to reroute power manually. Kalari rushed toward a side panel, opened it, and jammed her hand into the glowing circuits. A sharp hiss filled the air as the lights surged again, then faded into a dim, eerie blue dot. The shaking stopped. Only silence remained. Emergency lighting kicked in, painting the walls with a soft blue glow. The engines slowed, and outside, the stars no longer raced. They hung still, frozen. The ship had dropped out of warp. Dax stepped closer. What happened? Kalari pulled her hand out slowly. Her fingers were singed. Her breathing was shallow. The power core couldn't handle the jump and the bond activation. We had to stop before the system melted. She walked slowly toward the side room and paused. Follow me. You need to see something. They entered her private cabin. It wasn't what Dax expected. It wasn't cold and empty like the rest of the ship. Instead, there were soft lights, a warm sleeping pod, and even a folded blanket with a flower pattern. In the corner, a small orb floated gently, producing low, calming tones like music. Kalari sat on the edge of the sleeping pod, clearly exhausted. Dax looked around. I didn't know you had personal space on this ship. Most think I don't need comfort, she said, but I do. He stepped closer, still unsure. Why bring me here? She leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Because the truth is easier in the dark. Dax said nothing. Kalari closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. I knew this mission would kill me. Dax blinked. What? This ship? The radiation, the machine on Threnos. It all affects my kind differently. The longer I stay bonded to the ship's path, the more it breaks me. That's why only a human can finish it. Dax took a step back, his voice low. So why are you still here? Because I didn't want you to go alone. He sat down across from her, quiet now. I volunteered, she continued. They told me I wouldn't make it back. But I wanted to protect whoever was chosen. That's all I could do. Dax looked down. You should have told me. You would have refused, she said softly. He looked up. Maybe, but I would have understood. Kalari smiled weakly. I didn't want understanding. I wanted you to succeed. The silence stretched. Dax reached over and gently took her injured hand. You burned yourself saving the ship. You didn't have to do that. I did, she whispered. Because I care, she hesitated. Then said, at first, you were just part of the mission. But now, I don't want to see you die out there. Dax looked into her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't smirking or teasing. She was just tired, honest, real. He exhaled. I've been trained to fight, to shoot, to lead. But no one ever trained me for this. For what? She asked. For being trusted, he said. Kalari's fingers curled around his gently. Then start by trusting yourself. You're more than a tool for Earth Command. You're someone who can change everything if you choose to. The cabin lights flickered. Kalari winced. Dax stood quickly. You're getting worse. The radiation is inside now, she admitted. My cells are breaking down slowly. We need to get you to medbay. There's no cure, she said. Not for what's happening. We just need to reach the vault. Dax clenched his jaw. No, we're going to reach it, but you're not dying before that. She gave him a small smile. Always the soldier. He stood, walking toward the door. She called after him. Dax. He turned. If we don't make it. I'm still glad it was you. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded slowly. I'll get us there, no matter what. And he walked out. Outside the cabin, the ship's emergency lights flickered once again. The map on the wall now showed they were entering orbit around Threnos Prime. Dax stared at it. They had arrived, but at what cost? The surface of Threnos Prime looked dead from orbit gray clouds, swirling like smoke, mountains broken like bones, and rivers frozen in jagged black ice. There were no signs of life. No movement. No energy readings, but something waited there. Dax stood at the viewing screen in his exosuit, helmet under one arm, breathing slowly. Kalari leaned against the wall, her skin pale, her balance unsteady. She hadn't said a word since the ship entered the planet's orbit. The ship's voice broke the silence. Landing zone identified. Coordinates match vault entrance. Atmospheric. Pressure stable, radiation mild. Dax glanced at her. Will you make it through the walk? Kalari's voice was weak but sure. I'll make it until you don't need me anymore, he frowned. That's not what I asked. She looked up, eyes meeting his. I will walk, I will guide. But if I slow down, you leave me. He didn't answer. They entered the ship's drop chamber, and within minutes, the Nerexa touched down in the middle of a shattered valley, ancient. Stone pillars stood crooked like old teeth, wrapped in strange writing that neither of them could read. Dark spires rose in the distance. Half buried in ash. Dax helped Kalari out of the ship. The ground cracked under their boots. No wind, no sounds. Only echoes of something that once was. As they walked, Dax felt it, the quiet pressure of being watched, even though no one was there. The buildings were hollow, their insides burned away by some ancient force. Time hadn't erased the damage. It had preserved it like a warning. Who lived here? Dax asked. Kalari's voice came softly. A race older than any records. They called themselves the Sartai. They built the God Machine and sealed it away when it became too strong. Why not destroy it? They tried, she said. And this is what was left after. They reached the base of a cracked staircase that led deep underground. A smooth black door stood at the bottom, untouched by time. It shimmered slightly as they approached. Kalari placed her hand on it, but it didn't open. It won't respond to me, she whispered. It's waiting for you. Dax stepped forward. The moment his palm touched the door, light pulsed through the stone. The symbols around the entrance lit up red, gold, then white. The ground trembled. Slowly, the door slid open. A gust of cold air rushed out. Inside was a wide chamber, dark, echoing, and ancient. The walls pulsed with strange veins of glowing stone. Like the heart of a dead world still trying to beat. In the center of the room stood a circular platform with a small control pedestal. Kalari stumbled. Dax caught her before she fell. You shouldn't have come, he said, guiding her to sit against the wall. I had to see it. Just once. she said through gritted teeth. Her breathing was shallow now. Her skin, once lavender, had turned faintly gray. Dax looked at her, eyes full of worry. Then he turned toward the platform. As he stepped onto it, something shifted. The room responded. A voice, not human and not alien, filled the air. Human mind recognized, initiating interface. Suddenly, images burst into his mind: planets dying, stars collapsing, cities burning under invisible energy. Ben, peace. Life, worlds healed in an instant. Dax gasped, falling to his knees. Kalari called out weakly, "What do you see?" He struggled to answer. It's both. Life and death. It can destroy, but it can also fix everything. The God Machine, Kalari said. A gift and a curse. The machine spoke again. To activate, both minds must be joined. Bond incomplete. Companion link weakening. Dax turned sharply. Kalari had slumped lower against the wall, eyes barely open. "No," he whispered, rushing to her side. He cradled her in his arms. "You said we had more time." "I lied," she said, with a sad smile. "I didn't want you to carry fear too." He looked at her hand, cold now. The bond mark on her wrist flickered like a dying light. "If she dies," the voice said, "the vault will close, forever." Dax looked back at the machine. He was out of time. He closed his eyes, pressed his forehead to hers, and whispered, "Stay with me, just a little longer." Kalari's voice was almost gone. "Then finish it. Don't let this place win." Dax stood slowly, one hand still holding hers. He stepped back onto the platform. Bond accepted. Activation permitted. The room lit up in white light, and the vault began to hum. Far below the platform, something old awakened. Outside, the wind began to move again for the first time in centuries. In deep within the vault, the God Machine began to speak. Dax stood on the glowing platform, heart pounding in his chest, sweat dripping down his face. The vault had come alive. Lights raced across the ancient walls. The air shimmered with power. Beneath his boots, the floor pulsed like a living thing. Kalari lay near the chamber wall, still breathing, but barely. Her skin had gone pale gray, her body too weak to move. The bond between them, once bright, now flickered like a candle in wind. The voice of the machine echoed again, calm but powerful. "Two minds, two choices. The path opens when truth is revealed." Dax didn't understand. Truth? A new image formed in his mind. This time, it wasn't war or peace. It was her Kalari. She was younger, standing before a line of alien officials, accepting her orders. He saw her nod, proud, but also afraid. Then he saw the secret file she received. In it, her true mission: deliver the human. Do not reveal full system control. Bond must be formed to extract full access. Dax stumbled back. The vault was showing him her memories. The next one hit harder. Kalari was inside the Nerexa, watching a hollow message from Earth Command. They promised her one thing: safe passage for her people if she completed the mission. Even if she didn't survive. It wasn't just a mission. It was a trade. Him for the future of her kind. Dax gritted his teeth. "She used me," he whispered. Behind him, Kalari stirred weakly. "You saw it, didn't you?" Her voice was faint, broken. He turned to face her. "How long were you going to hide that?" "I tried to tell you," she whispered, "in my own way, but you wouldn't have come if you knew." "You're right," he said sharply. "I wouldn't have." A long silence hung in the vault. Even the machine paused. Kalari closed her eyes. "I was selfish. I wanted to protect my people. I also didn't expect to care about you." Dax turned away. "Convenient." "I didn't fake the bond," she said. "That part was real." He stood still. Something inside him was torn. The vault's voice returned. "Bond unstable. Path closing. Choose. Trust or terminate." Dax looked at the control pedestal. It had split into two panels, one marked in human language, trust, the other, terminate. Terminate what? The machine? The bond? He stared down at both, then back at Kalari. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She just lay there waiting. I don't know what to believe, he said. Then believe this, she whispered, lifting her hand with her last strength. Even if I lied at first, I wouldn't let anyone else stand with you now. No one else would understand you like I do. He stared at her, his heart racing. He remembered the moments, the jokes, the tension, the silence, the night she told him the truth in the dark, the way she burned her hand to save the ship, the way she said his name when she thought they were going to die. Maybe the mission started as a lie, but the feelings didn't. Dax stepped forward and placed his hand on the panel marked trust. The vault lit up brighter than ever before. Kalari gasped softly as light ran through the bond mark on her wrist again. Her breathing steadied. Her skin brightened slightly. Bond confirmed. Vault access granted. Final memory unlocked. A massive door opened behind the control pedestal. Inside was not a weapon, not in the usual sense. It was a chair, floating above a glowing sphere. The God Machine, Kalari said quietly, almost in awe. Dax stepped inside. It's not what I expected. It reads your heart, she said, and gives your will form. He walked up to the chair. Symbols glowed across it in both human and alien script. It had been made for two. Kalari tried to stand, but collapsed again. Dax rushed back and caught her. You can't walk, he said. I'll manage, she whispered. He lifted her gently and carried her toward the sphere. She rested her head against his chest, weak but calm. I trusted you, he said softly. Even when I didn't want to. Kalari looked up at him. And I betrayed you, but I'm still here. He helped her sit beside him in the shared seat. As they both touched the orb, the vault shimmered around them. A voice echoed. Final command. Will you destroy or restore? Dax looked at her. Her voice came soft but clear. The galaxy needs healing, not fear. Choose peace. He nodded. Together, they whispered, restore. The God Machine began to glow. Far beyond Threnos, waves of energy rippled out, reaching broken planets, wounded worlds, shattered places forgotten by time. The machine's power didn't destroy. It rebuilt. And deep in the vault, two minds once broken, once used, found each other in truth. The power of the God Machine echoed through the vault. The chamber glowed with golden light, soft and warm like sunrise after a long night. The walls pulsed slowly, no longer humming with danger but breathing gently, like the planet itself had been calmed. Dax sat in silence, Kalari beside him, both their hands still resting on the glowing sphere. The machine had stopped asking questions. The bond was complete. The choice was made. Outside, Threnos Prime was changing. Dark clouds broke apart in the sky. Ash began to fall like snow. The dead rivers slowly shimmered with hints of light beneath. The black ice. Life had not returned, but death had paused. Dax looked at Kalari. Her chest rose and fell slowly, but she wasn't shivering anymore. Her skin had regained a faint lavender glow. She opened her eyes and met his with a tired smile. You stayed, she whispered. I wasn't going to leave you, he replied. They sat like that for a long moment, not speaking. No sirens, no orders, no chaos. Just quiet. Then Kalari looked at the center of the machine. There's something more, she said. What do you mean? She pointed at the orb. The light inside had changed. It now showed a small silver key floating above a star map. A message blinked in human script. Final gate. Coordinates revealed. User may exit or continue. Warning. Continued access risks neural damage. Dax frowned. There's another vault? Kalari nodded. A final one, maybe the source of it all. He looked at her. Do we go? She shook her head. No, that path is for another time, maybe another person. We've finished this mission. He slowly stood, still holding her hand. Then let's go home. Back aboard the Nerexa, the ship's systems came online the moment Dax carried Kalari through the hatch. The AA responded with a soft chime. Welcome back. Vital signs detected. Route clearing. Preparing ascent. He laid Kalari gently on the medbed, activating the ship's medical support. A soft mist surrounded her as healing lights scanned her body. How long was I under? She asked. Only minutes, he said, but it felt longer. She gave a soft laugh. Everything feels longer with you. He smiled faintly, and here I thought I was the impatient one. The ship rumbled gently as it lifted off the surface of Threnos Prime. Outside, the clouds continued to clear, revealing broken mountains and glowing fault lines starting to mend. The planet wasn't healed, but it wasn't cursed anymore either. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, Kalari opened her eyes again. What happens now, Dax? He thought about it. I report in, he said. I tell Earth Command we finished the mission, but not everything. She raised an eyebrow. You'll lie to them? I'll leave out what they don't deserve to control. She nodded slowly. Good. Some truths belong to those who earn them. They sat quietly as the ship entered warp. For the first time, the jump felt peaceful. No alarms. No secrets. No tension. Just two people who had been used, who had trusted anyway, and survived. Days passed as they traveled back through the sectors. Kalari grew stronger each day. Her burns faded. Her voice returned fully. Sometimes they would sit together at the viewing window, watching stars drift by. Other times they didn't speak at all. They didn't need to. On the seventh day, Earth Command sent a message. Mission complete. Debrief required. Return to main station. Dax didn't reply. He walked to the console, deleted the message, and turned to Kalari. I think it's time we disappear. Her eyes glinted with amusement. Disappear where? Anywhere they're not looking, he said. Somewhere quiet, somewhere real. She smiled softly. That would be nice. 3 months later, in a distant sector untouched by war, a small silver ship rested on the edge of a green moon. A house stood near the water, simple, peaceful. Inside, a human and an alien woman shared a quiet dinner. No one knew who they were. No one asked. They laughed sometimes. They argued sometimes. But always they stayed together, because once, long ago, in a dead place full of silence and pain, only two walked out, and they chose peace, together.